Yo, 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 what's going on, guys? This is Adora Sanya from iFlip Academy. I am super pumped to be doing this training video here. I want to jump right in. This is going to be something super cool. So if you're watching this, right, you've probably been on what I call like the standard real estate investing webinar, or you've been to like those stuffy seminar hotel rooms and shit like that, right? Where, you might sit there for an hour and you're like hoping to learn something. And then by the end of it, you're like, damn, I really didn't friggin' learn anything, right? So I want to do the complete opposite of that in this training, guys. What I'm going to do, I want to give forget about the standard stuff, right? So I'm going to go totally against the grain here. I want to give a completely raw, unfiltered, just straight content filled training here. So if you're ready for that, if you can resonate with that, please go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Even if you're super ready, put in the comments section, like I'm ready for the real. Tired of the bullshit. But once again, this is Adora Sanya from iFlip Academy. So you might be wondering, like, you might know me, you might not know me, which is totally fine. Where it's like, who is this guy? What is this guy about? I'm not going to give you like, some like 20-minute biography of my whole life, like a lot of people do. That's not what you're here for, right? But really, why this matters and why you might want to pay attention to this is literally I've been wholesaling houses full time since 2009, right? So this is actually, if you see on your screen here, this check here is a recent $25,000 deal that I just recently closed. But it's like, hey, maybe that was like my first deal or something like that, it totally wasn't, right? So we're closing deals literally month in, month out, right? So here's another $30,000 deal that we closed this year. So I'm not showing you like deals that we closed in 2013, 14, or 15. Like, no, this training is coming from someone that's actually in the trenches doing deals almost on a weekly basis, but month in, month out, right? So that's why you should pay attention right now, right? So if you got distractions, hey, I've even got my son here getting acclimated to the deal closing lifestyle here. Here's another one, $8,000 deal. Here's something crazy, right? So I joke around a lot. Let's get serious for a minute here. Recently, I forget what month, but recently I broke my foot, like literally broke my foot, could not walk over the course of like 3 months, as you see the boot here on my foot in this photo. And even with that, it was like a really crazy situation for me. I had to get surgery, had to get a whole screw put in my foot. And even with that, still able to close deals, right? So imagine, a lot of you right now are in a situation where, you might be working a full-time job. You're looking at this wholesaling thing as like you're way out of that job, or whatever the situation is, right? You see a lot of people when they, kind of post these deal checks. It's like, hey, look at me, look at me in my fancy Ferrari, whatever, right? And which is great. However, what this really comes down to is creating a business, putting something in place that you're able to like sustain yourself. You're able to take care of your family. You're able to kind of deal with any, craziness that could happen in your life, right? So what would happen right now, if you broke your foot, if you injured your back, if you couldn't perform at work? what would happen, right? For a lot of people, that's like, oh my goodness, I would be in ruins. So what this is all about is getting you to a place where you're able to kind of generate this revenue on a consistent monthly basis. So you take care of yourself, take care of your family, whatever that means for you, right? That could be taking, a vacation every other month. Whatever your thing is, that's the goal here, right? So it's not about friggin' flashing checks and mansions and forget about that. If you're looking for stuff like that, that's not me, right? It's about really setting yourself up proper so that you can live the life that you want to live, right? And doing deals like this is a $77,000 deal, right? That we closed recently. These are the kinds of deals that you're able to do when you really kind of really fully grasp how to do this business on a high level. And that's what this training is all about, right? So let's hop in here, right? So who is this thing for? If you are a newbie, like aspiring wholesaler, existing wholesaler, maybe you've done a deal here and there, but really no consistency. Or you're brand new to the game. You're kind of wondering, what do I do? How do I do it? Like, this is absolutely for you. You want to make sure that you literally watch this video in full. And once again, if you haven't already, make sure you comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're actively doing the business right now and you're looking to get to the place where you're at least doing 50 grand or more per month in revenue, this is absolutely for you, right? So wholesaling, let me give you guys my wholesaling, state of the union address right now. Wholesaling is by far, in my opinion, just one of the best business models ever. One of the best business models ever. This is a business that's been sustaining me, right? That I've been feeding myself, my family, extended family off of since 2009. This shit is no joke, guys. And for those of you guys that don't fully understand, we're literally able to go out, put properties under contract, properties that we don't have to own. We don't utilize any credit, don't have to qualify for any bank loans. We're literally able to kind of create revenue from these properties out of thin air. The shit is amazing, guys. How it's actually the return on investment that we get from wholesaling is much better than guys that are actually rehabbing and fixing and flipping these properties over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. That's a fact, right? It's, in my opinion, the most profitable real estate investing niche. It's a beautiful thing. However, as beautiful as it is, failure is at an all-time high. So everyone, it's crazy as I look around online, I go to these meetup groups, people email me, failure is at an all-time high. People really there's no way for me to put it. People are hardcore struggling, trying to figure out how to actually turn this into a business, how to get that first deal done, how to do deals consistently. It's a lot more different, to be honest with you. When I got into the game, there's a lot less gurus. There's a lot less people teaching this stuff. And there was a lot, to be quite honest with you, there was a lot less skill that was required to be able to really operate this business. To be honest, my first couple of deals, I didn't know what the freak I was doing. but I was still able to like get those deals done. Right now, the landscape is completely changed. Competition is at an all-time high. If you don't know what the freak you're doing, someone's going to eat your lunch and essentially take your deal, right? It's just a fact of life. Everyone and their mother's brother, sister, uncle wants to be a wholesaler. Now, here's the thing. This is not to discourage you. This is not to tell you that you can't do the business. Hell, I'm still doing deals here, month in, month out. Like right now in my business, we've got like 20-ish something deals in the pipeline, right? However, really what the problem boils down to, if you're struggling in this business, you're still trying to figure it out, you're still spinning your wheels, the real problem is you're not understanding the anatomy of the wholesale business, right? So you're not really understanding like there's so many like puzzle pieces. And if you don't really understand those pieces and how they connect together in your wholesaling business, it leads to ultimate confusion, and confusion leads to you not doing any deals or you doing a very just limited amount of deals here and there. That's the issue. Now, what I'm going to do today, as I told you at the beginning, I'm going to kind of do something completely out of the box. I don't want to do like a fucking theory-based, theory-based pie in the sky, fluffy thing where you really don't learn anything. What I want to do, I want to take you guys into the real world, right? And when I say the real world, you'll probably hear me use that phrase a lot these days because there's like, in my opinion, two worlds when it comes to like real estate investing education. There's like YouTube internet land, very theory based, and it's like, oh, this, that could work, this could, and you're learning from people that like really aren't doing it or haven't done it in a long time. And then there's what I call real world. So I want to take you guys into the real world here. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to break down for you. So this deal here, where is it at? No, not this $77,000 deal. Not these, not this one, but this one here, right? So in this picture, I am holding a check for $25,000, right? So here's the check right here. So you know it's real. And what I'm going to do is, so when people post these checks, it's like, hey, look at me, I'm so awesome, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, there's not much you can do with that, right? What I want to do is I want to take you like on what I call a full frontal case study, and fully like break this deal apart for you from A to Z, how it all came about, everything, literally everything from A to Z. And the purpose of this is so that you can kind of literally sit on my shoulder and kind of like see, like, there's so many people. Like I was on a panel at a real estate event recently, and there's just so many people that are just really stuck. And I feel so bad. Like, it's just like you just don't know what this stuff looks like in the real world. So when you're faced with certain situations, you just don't know, right? You're like, typing on forums and hoping, praying that you get the answer. And you just don't know like what these deals actually look like in real life. So I'm going to completely break this down for you guys. And once again, if you find value in this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. All right. So I want you to understand the business model, behind this wholesaling thing. So in order to do that, You gotta forget about real estate. You gotta forget about real estate. Real estate, it really doesn't matter. As far as wholesaling is concerned, you're not a real estate investor. You're not a real estate investor. What you really have is a marketing and sales organization. I want you to say that out loud to yourself as you're watching this, because this is the point of confusion for a lot of people. You are not a real estate investor, right? If you're trying to get into the wholesaling business, real estate just happens to be like the product that we deal in, but that's not your primary business. You really have a sales and marketing organization. And in this organization, you've got three departments. Everything that you do in your wholesaling business can be boiled into these three departments. So remember, I talked earlier about like there's all these puzzle pieces that people are trying to put together and they really can't figure out. All of those puzzle pieces come under the umbrella of these three departments. So your first department is your marketing department, right? So another thing here, my approach, by the way, is from, and you, for those of you that know me already, you'll know, like I don't come from the angle of, hey, how do you do a quick deal for fast cash and like just like that, yeah, that like hustle, get rich quick mentality. I'm coming from the aspect of like, how do you like actually build? How do you approach this from the aspect of like actually building a real life, sustainable business for yourself, right? Hence why this is broken down into departments. So first department is your marketing department. This department is in charge of generating leads, right? Getting people to call you. That's the marketing department. Your acquisitions department is in charge of, okay, now the phone's ringing. Now we must convert these leads into actual contracts. The next is your disposition / transactions department. And this department is solely geared towards getting your deals sold and then also getting them to the actual closing table, right? So that's the business model now. And I wanted to do this as I go into this case study. I'm going to break this deal down per these departments, right? So you got to, in order for me to do that, you got to understand what the departments are, or you'd likely be lost. Okay. So let's go into this training. So I'm sorry, this case study, and the address for this deal. What is the address? 7257 Haverford Avenue, here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All right. You know what? To give you guys a visual of this, give you guys a nice little visual. All right. So this is the property right here. It is actually a duplex. All right. So this is the visual of the property, just to make it even more real for you. So we're going to break this down starting from the marketing department aspect of this deal. So the lead source for this deal was actually pre-foreclosure, right? So with marketing, everything pretty much starts on the list level, right? So people always ask me that question. Oh man, how do you find deals? Where do you find the deals? So on and so on, right? So for this particular deal, this came from a pre-foreclosure list, which is a pretty common list that you can get. I think I got this particular list from my friend Eric Torrente at Flip This Real Estate List. But this pre-foreclosure list, like, it's not hard to get. All right. Now, your marketing is really there's two major components with your marketing. There's the list, and then there's the channel, the marketing channel, which is like, what method did I then use to get in front of this particular person? Okay. So the marketing channel that we used for this particular deal was direct mail. And it was something like a regular, like pink doodle postcard or something like that. Right. So nothing super special. Right. And then, so I'm going to show you, right? Because this is like, there's like all this mystique around, like, oh my goodness, like, how do you find these deals? So literally, this deal was on this list right here, right? So this is a list that we get on a monthly basis, and check this out. So I think on this list, all right, so there's roughly, let's call it 700 people that were on this list, right? And this deal is somewhere on this list, okay? So this is like literally where it starts at. You've got your list, and then we say, boom, for the campaign for this month, we're going to be sending direct mail to this particular list and a whole lot of other lists, right? And pardon me, guys, if you hear me, I feel like a potential sneeze coming on. Excuse me if I do. So that's where this came from. Pre-foreclosure, direct mail. Now, so let's do the numbers behind this. This is crazy. So for this particular list, and what you have to do, you have to cultivate what I call the ROI mindset, which is ROI, for those that don't know, is return on investment. Return on investment. A lot of you guys are approaching this marketing thing from, what's the cheapest thing I can do? Or, I don't want to spend it. How do I get the deals and I don't have to spend any money? Like, approach this thing as an actual business, guys, and that's where you'll actually see the results. So let's really look at this. To mail to this list, it costs roughly I'm just doing rough math here, guys. Let's say at 40 cents per mail piece, it costs like $300. $300 invested, and this ended up as a $25,000 deal, actually closer to 26, right? So I just want you to really process that in your mind, right? So ROI is all about, we put money in, and this deal, I think from the time that we did this campaign to the time that the deal closed, I think it was about 3 months. Okay. So that's $300 invested in order to get $25,000. ROI wise, That is a 7,000% return. So at the beginning, when I said wholesaling is the most profitable real estate investing niche, I wasn't joking about that. We got a 7,000% return on this one deal, right? So you've seen the list that it came from, and you've seen the marketing channel that it came from. However, we could have also, cold called this list and likely got the same results. Or we could have got something else. And actually, this lady could have been on she's probably on a couple other lists as well. But that's how we generated the lead, right? So this is the marketing department side of this. Now, here are your marketing lessons. Marketing, how you want to approach this, is all about sending your soldiers, and in this case, your soldiers is your money, and sending them out into the world to create opportunities. So your money goes out, creates opportunities, which come back in the form of leads into your business. And that's where it all starts. Consistency is everything. Consistency is everything. I can't tell you how many people I've seen kind of just go out like, oh man, I'm going to blow my money, whatever that amount is. I'm going to go out, do a whole bunch of postcards, boom. And they don't get a deal. And they're like, man, fuck this. Like this stuff doesn't work. If that's what your mindset is, like to send out some postcards and get a deal, which I see literally all over the internet. It's like, hey, I sent 50 letters out. I didn't get a deal. I don't think this works. You're better off saving your money if that's your mindset. Consistency is everything. Without marketing, you have no business. If you're not able to go out and generate leads for your business, you don't have a business. You have a hobby. All right? I'm going to take a swig of water here, guys. Now, we've ran through the marketing department. Now let's talk about the acquisitions department, right? So remember, marketing generates the lead, gets people calling in. Now it's the job of acquisitions to actually convert, right? So this is really the cool side, in my opinion. So acquisitions all starts with the first conversation. Guys, this is the most beautiful thing ever. Being able to take people that don't know you from a can of paint, that never knew you yesterday, they never knew you an hour ago, and they call you, and you're able to take those people through a structured sales process that ultimately ends up in them agreeing to sell you their house. Man, if that doesn't excite you, like that's one of the most exciting things to me. So it all starts with the first conversation. So on this first conversation, you're doing a couple things, right? So you're getting information about their property. You're trying to build rapport with them. So look, let's look at this. I told you guys I was gonna like literally take you directly inside of this deal. So I've just switched over here into our CRM, our Podio CRM here. All right, so let's break this down. Okay. So this lead came in April 29th. April 29th. Okay. So these notes here are the first conversation. So just put yourself, I want you to really like kind of put yourself inside of this thing. Okay. So this lady, her name is Sharon. She calls in, right? And these are the notes that were taken from the first conversation, right? So it's a duplex with 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom in each unit. It was vandalized. Now, let's switch back here a little bit. On this first conversation, you're looking to build rapport with the person, and you're also kind of feeling them out. Here's a secret. Here's a secret. Most of the people that you talk to in this wholesale business are not going to do business with you, right? Most people do not want to sell their property for 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar. Okay. That's perfectly fine. So a big part of this first conversation is kind of seeing what are the pain points? What's this person experiencing? What are they going through? What's their situation? What's their motivation level? So the way we categorize it is like hot, warm, cold, right? All right. So back to these notes. So pay attention here. I want you to kind of be like in the mindset of, an acquisitions person, the salesperson, um, in this deal. So think about this. You're reading these notes. The house was vandalized. It's got a 3-year-old roof. The upstairs apartment was completely remodeled. Downstairs will need to be completely remodeled. The Now let's go deeper here. The tenant needs to go. She tore up the place and will not pay rent. It's a corner property. She's unsure of the asking price because she lives out of town and has no clue of the condition. Okay? So, man, this is a lot of information here. So, what I want you to do, like if you were kind of talking to this person, like you want to like pay attention to these particular pain points. So I've mapped them out here for you. 1, she's got a non-paying tenant, which kind of at some point transitioned to a squatter, or like a hybrid of the two. She wanted to be done with the property. Also, the 1 unit here was vandalized, and she lives out of state. That's a lot to work with. Right? So let's look at the notes on this. Interestingly, so this this deal, or this lead actually came in. I was training a new salesperson at the time. So this lead that came in was actually like one of the first people that my new acquisitions person at the time, like one of like the first calls that she took in and that she processed, right? So really she was learning the sales process as she was like working this lead, right? So here in the comments section here, like we've got all of these notes, and I won't like read them all because it's a lot of them, but here's what's important. April 29th, the lead comes in. And then let's see, April 30th. So this is a lesson also in speed. I have a quote that I use a lot, which is money loves speed, right? A big part of acquisitions is being able to recognize opportunity and then being able to pounce on that opportunity very quickly. So as we kind of continue to talk to this lady more, we then found out. So this is like pretty motivated, right? She's out of state. She's got a tenant that's not paying that also messed up the property. She's got the other unit that's been vandalized, and she lives out of state, right? Now we go into deal analysis mode, right? So this is the sales process right here. So we talk to the lady like initially, think like once or twice, boom. Now, we know that she's definitely looking to sell. We know that she's motivated. Deal analysis, which is now we got to figure out, okay, what can we offer for this property? What can we offer for this property? And let's see in the notes here. So Samantha, who is my acquisitions person, you see here, I'm going to highlight this. So Samantha asked the lady, the seller, if she would consider 120. Okay. So that came about in our deal analysis. That came about what you're doing when you're analyzing these deals. We're trying to figure out. So we've got this duplex. Okay. We've got this duplex. We've kind of got a feel as far as like the condition of the duplex. And here's the question that we ask ourselves during deal analysis phase is, what are other investors that are currently buying similar properties? What are they paying for similar properties? And really what that question is, what is this worth? What is the property worth in its current as is condition? So what we use the MLS. And MLS is the absolute best way to analyze these deals. I could hear someone saying right now, "Well, oh my God, I don't have the MLS." Go fucking get it. All right. And the way that you get it is in most places you can become we call like getting an assistant account under an agent. And always like people are always, oh my goodness, the agent wouldn't let me. Go talk to if you have to, go talk to every friggin' agent you can, and someone will let you, right? Even if you have to pay for their annual fees, whatever the case may be, right? So don't let any of these things like hold you back, essentially is what I'm saying. So we analyzed the deal, and we felt, just based off looking at the numbers, that we could probably move this deal if we got it under contract. The data told us that someone would probably pay like between 140 to 150 for this duplex. So this is how we kind of came up with this offer of 120. Okay. So that was our deal analysis phase. Now we're in like the offer conversion phase. So we're talking to this lady. Also, by the way, just a side note here, the owner is actually like a former real estate agent. So she was not like someone that doesn't know anything about real estate, never sold a house before. She used to be a real estate agent. So she's pretty savvy. Motivated but savvy, right? So you always want to think about, how can you add value? How can you add value? So if you kind of going back to these notes here, she said, really the big thing here, where is it? Tenant needs to go. She tore up the place and will not pay rent. So that was a big pain point for this lady. And combine that with the fact that she lives out of state. So those two things like don't go very well. Bad tenant, but I live out of state. What the fuck do I do? Right? That is where you can come in and add value. And that's what we're always looking to do. So what we ended up doing, and at the same time, while this is going on, we also then realize that this lady actually was owed more, owed more than what we could offer for the property. And that kind of came out later. So she owed like a total of like 144 grand between two mortgages. So at that point, it's like, oh, well, this kind of actually is not really interesting because she doesn't even have the ability to take our offer. But here's the thing. So, like I said, she's savvy. So at some point, she had already, so she had two mortgages, a first mortgage for 44 grand and a second mortgage for 100 grand. Now, what she realized and what we realized as well is what she was on this before us. Cause like I said, she's pretty savvy in these situations where there's like two mortgages and the person is like in pre-foreclosure, they haven't been making payments. The second mortgage, if the first mortgage ends up foreclosing because they're in first position, the second mortgage will completely get wiped out because they're in second position. So in a lot of cases, like that mortgage, that lender becomes pretty motivated to get like some money versus like the possibility of completely getting wiped out. So this lady had already been in communication with like her second lender, which is like Bank of America, I believe. And they had already like let her know that they would take less. And she felt pretty confident about that. To be honest, I kind of thought it was bullshit. So we worked through that and so we realized this as well. So here's the thing. In a short sale situation, which is what this would be classified as, the seller is not allowed to make any profit on the deal because, you know, the lender's taking less money. Why would the seller be able to like make money? So we realized that and we're like, hey, so we offered like 120, but the reality is, hey, let's, you know, why not like, why not shoot for the stars? So we kind of revised that and we kind of walked the offer back a little bit like, hey, you know, I don't think the 120 works. What we can do is the 100. So she's like, okay, you know, send me the purchase agreement. Let me send it. She already kind of had an attorney that she was working with that was in contact with the lender. Boom. Now we send her just a purchase agreement for the 100, not really thinking about it too deeply. And at some point, this lady calls back and she's like, yeah, like, I think it'll work. And she then asks us to put together a preliminary HUD, which is kind of out of order, but she asks like, hey, can you put together a preliminary HUD so that I can show the lender like an idea of what they might make after paying off everything else based off of the $100,000 purchase price. So we get in contact with our title company. Boom, they put that together. And it's a very like super, super preliminary thing because we hadn't even like started title yet. So we do that. Boom, boom, boom. And the lady then gets like, I don't know, maybe a week or so later or something like that. She got approval. She got approval from Bank of America to, they agreed I forget what the number was. They agreed to take like, man, I think it was like initially they agreed to take like, I want to say like somewhere between 40 to 50 grand. So boom, we're in business. So we execute the purchase agreement, and now we've got the property under contract for $100,000. Now, here are your acquisitions department lessons. One, people do business with people that they like, right? So there is sales and psychology and persuasion involved in, locking up these deals a lot of times. But the reality is people do business with the people that they like. So if you're able to like build rapport with people, get them to trust you, kind of find common ground, whether that be sports, religion, family, traveling, whatever the case may be, like people will be kind of more inclined to do business with you. Two, look for ways to take the burden off of your seller's shoulders. How we did that in this situation, how we really converted this deal, is we agreed that we would do the deal with the tenant in there. So guess what? Or the tenant / squatter. So guess what? She had spoken to other people prior to us, but they wanted her to deal with getting the non-paying tenant / squatter out of there, because that's tough. That's tough, right? But we agreed, like, hey, we'll deal with it. So you want to look for ways to take the burden off the seller's shoulders, whether it be a squatter, whether it be, hey, they live out of state and you got to do something for them, whether they need help like opening up an estate to be able to sell the house, or whatever the case may be. We always look for ways to take the burden off the seller's shoulders. And we realized being able to do that allows us to get even bigger discounts when we are locking these deals up. And last but not least, if you can't properly convert, if you don't have a sales process in place, you're screwed. Because everyone talks about, marketing is like the sexy topic. However, if you can not then turn these leads into contracts, you're basically lighting your marketing money on fire, because you're not going to make any money because you can't convert. All right. So that's it for the acquisitions department. At this point, we've got the property under contract for $100,000. Now, next up, we're now on the dispositions / transaction side. Okay. So what this is, now we've got the deal under contract. We've got it under contract. But guess what? The contract, it's just a piece of paper right now. That piece of paper doesn't turn into revenue without the dispositions department. So you're kind of starting to see, which is why I broke down these departments at the beginning, kind of how they're all intertwined together. So you've got your dispositions department. So we got the contract. We now pass it off to the dispositions. And dispositions is marketing the deal, right? So trying to get the deal sold. So So by the way, just so you guys kind of fully understand, this deal was like, we locked up this deal. It was all done over the phone. All done over the phone. At this point, we had never seen the property, and that's how we did it. So everything was phone, and then when it was time to sign, like the seller signed digitally via email. So we her husband then flew up from Florida to let us in the property, and we took pictures of it. He actually gave us a key as well to the property. Like that's how much like trust and rapport that we had built. So we get the pictures. All right, so now we're able to market it, and I think we initially marketed the deal at 140. Now, so we marketed the deal at 140, and we did this via email and just calling buyers directly that we knew likely would have some kind of interest in this deal. Now, so that's happening. So kind of simultaneously as that's happening, we're also on the transaction side as well, right? So the transaction side, so like is all about, so dispositions is marketing the deal, finding a buyer, assigning the deal to a buyer. The transaction side is all about kind of smoothly getting this deal to closing, kind of managing the seller, managing any like, so dealing with the title company or attorney that's doing the transaction for you, all of that good stuff, right? So these things happen like together. So while, as we're marketing the deal, we also start title work on the property. So at some point we get title back, and pretty clean for the most part, pretty clean. The mortgages popped up, which we already knew that these mortgages existed. And that was pretty much it. It's pretty clean title. So that's good. And now we market the deal, and we've got people that now want to get inside the property, right? That's a natural thing. When you're marketing the deal, it's all about like gaining awareness, like, hey, we've got this deal. Then the next step is people are like, okay, I want to come see it. So it's crazy. We had a showing set up. So we like to do like group showings if a property is like not vacant. And we had a showing set up for literally like 10 people, which is great, by the way, right? Because 10 people get to experience the deal at the same time, and they're there together, which can create like just this atmosphere of competition. Like, oh man, like there's these other guys here. Like, oh shit, I gotta come legit with my offer. So we line up all these people, only to get to the property, and apparently the non-paying tenant / squatter, they had like changed the lock or something. So we have all these people trying to get into the property, super interested in the deal, and we can't get inside the property. Cannot get inside the property. It's crazy. So that's an issue. So we can't get inside the property. People need to get in order to, make us an offer. So that's an issue. We couldn't do the showing that day. And now we're kind of scrambling a little bit, because like, oh man, like, are we going to be able to get inside of this property? So this should have been like, if this property was vacant, would have been a very, very simple deal to sell. Very simple deal to sell. But the squatter tenant, that poses a challenge for us. So what we ended up doing, ironically, kind of at the same time, I get a call from one of my agent friends that I've done like good handful of deals with in the past. And he's like, hey, like just giving you a call, see what you got. I've got this buyer that's looking for this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. And I just like randomly mention this deal, this duplex. And he's like, oh, like, send me the pictures. Like, I think my guy might like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Sent him the pictures, not really thinking anything of it. And his buyer, sight unseen, made an offer of 120,000. The buyer made an offer for 120,000, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we're now on the disposition side, we're faced with an issue of, I know we could probably move this thing for like 140. However, we can't friggin' get inside of the house. So, and at the same time, we've got this like legit, sight unseen offer for this particular buyer. Like, he just was comfortable making the offer sight unseen, no contingencies. So we start negotiating with this buyer. We go back and forth, a lot of back and forth, and we end up landing at $129,000, right? So keep in mind, we've got the property locked up under contract for 100, and then we find a buyer for 129. So that's a $29,000 assignment fee. And I agreed to pay the agent $2,000. $2,000 or 2,500, I forget. All right. So now we've officially assigned this deal to the buyer. They put down a deposit of $5,000. So boom, it's real. We've got them locked in. So now the disposition side, like, we've got it sold. We're on just solely the transaction side now, which is getting the deal to the closing table. Okay. So now we start to kind of have issues. So part of this deal with us selling it to the buyer, the assignment, and this is standard in my market here in Philadelphia, where most investors are buying properties, they want the property to be delivered vacant, right? So they want the property to be delivered vacant because, just unfortunately, man, I got to decline that. Unfortunately, if it's not delivered vacant, there's just too much that goes into the process of like legally getting people out of these properties, unfortunately. So that's an issue. So on the transaction side, we now have to get the squatter out of the property. So this is all that in itself, to be honest, can be like a 2-hour long master class. But to kind of give you guys the gist, I make contact with the squatter, or the tenant / squatter, and we started dialogue with her. So pretty much in these situations, it's all going to come down to paying the person to leave, essentially. Paying the person to leave. And we call that like cash for keys. it just, unfortunately, it's like, it feels like very dirty because it's like, why am I paying someone that is not supposed to be in this house anyway? But it's much quicker than like trying to legally get the person, like, evict or eject them from the property. So I made contact with the squatter. And it was not easy. Like, she was giving me, there's a lot of kind of back and forth. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. Like, F the owner, F you. So I kind of have to work through all of that and be very patient and polite. um, and this was just a lady that was fed up. So at some point I was able to like build rapport with this lady. And by the way, this is like, I'm literally talking to this lady for like a month and a half, right? Like literally just kind of getting her ready, this, that, and a third. So during this time, because once again, the buyer would not close on the deal with the squatter in there. So getting the squatter out is a must, right? Like, we can't get around that. So during this time, like, we actually had to get an extension with the buyer, and we had to do an extension with the seller as well, right? And the seller was super cool because they're like, man, we just want to be done with the property. So we finally come to some kind of agreement with the squatter, and it's like, okay, great. And then at the last minute, we're like a week away from closing or something like that, or the week of, or so we thought. And there's a bill. It was like a gas bill that the title company hadn't previously caught. And it was like, I want to say it's like a $10,000 gas bill. Okay. Now here's the issue with this. Who's going to pay for that? The seller can't pay for it. They're not making any money. I don't want to pay for that shit. So who, in order for us to be able to do that deal without us having to pay for it, the seller actually had to go back to the lender to ask them if they could reduce their the money that they agreed to take, if they could reduce that so that we can factor in paying this gas bill. So we have to get another extension. So this is like, it takes like 2 weeks. Everyone's like kind of on pins and needles. The bank finally comes back and they send a letter saying, all right, cool. We'll take the even lower amount, which was amazing. So boom. Okay. So now we're ready on the seller side. Everything is good. The title company has everything lined up. Now we're ready to close. No, we're actually not. Turns out the buyer, at some point, because this was taking so long, they decided to now, instead of using cash to buy the house, which is the easiest thing, they decide that they're going to purchase the house with hard money financing. So that complicated things a little bit because their lender needed like all of these different things from them, and their lender was not ready to close. So we have to do another extension. So all this time, the squatter, then I got on a good foot with the squatter. The squatter is now like, hey, fuck you. I don't know what's going on. Because my agreement is I'm going to pay the squatter. I agreed to pay the squatter $3,000. However, just for my protection, I set this up in a way where pretty much I wanted to line up the closing day with the same day that I pay the squatter. Because, who knows? Like, I don't want to give this lady $3,000 and then for some reason the deal can't close and, I can't get my money back. So we've got that. The buyer like has to get all their stuff together with their lender, this, that, and a third. Boom. They finally figure that out. And I line that up. All right. So this day, what's the day on this check? Right. So this day, July 25th, that's the day. Whatever day that was, I lined it up with so the buyer I think was gonna close at like, I don't know, like 3 o'clock or something like that. And I literally paid the squatter just to just to really reduce my exposure. I paid the squatter at like 1:30 or something like that. And boom, the squatter agreed to leave. The buyer came over to confirm that the property was in fact vacant. And boom, his lender funded the deal and the deal closed. The deal friggin' closed, right? So this outcome here, guys, this $25,986 check, that is the outcome from all of this work, right? So going through the marketing side, the acquisition side, the disposition slash transaction side, and here are the lessons on the dispositions transaction side. One, it's your job to get this deal to closing. I see so many people that think like, oh, I got the property under contract. I just like take the contract title company and okay. That's not how this thing works. It's your job. Like these buyers, it's just another deal for them, right? Like it's like, okay, I could buy this property or hey, I could, buy another property. I could go to the auction, whatever. And in a lot of cases, some of these sellers are like, like don't even know what's going on, or it might be like their first or second time ever even selling a house. You've got to, in a lot of cases, work for your money, whether that is dealing with squatters, dealing with title issues, helping people set up estates, whatever the case may be, it's your job. Otherwise, it's not the title company's job. At any given time, if you're working with like a busy title company, they might be processing hundreds of files like per month. You can't rely on them to like do everything for you. Next, people management is key, right? So a big part of, and I always talk in my office about this, yeah, a lot of this is like managing people, managing different types of people, different personality types, being able to persuade people to do certain things like the squatter, like just dealing with people. Next, always stay in control of the deal. This deal was this is like a pretty, like we earned our money on this deal because there was like just so much craziness going on, whether it was the buyer not having his shit together, the crazy tenant, squatter. But you always got to stay in control of the deal. And a big part of doing that is like working with a title company, working with your title company. That's a big part of like being able to stay in control. There's a lot of times like we just needed different things title wise where I'm able to like, call up my title company guys like, hey, I need this. I need a revised HUD. I need to do this. Like just being able to like what's going on with the buyer? Have you heard from the buyer's lender? Like being able to stay in control of the deal kind of goes hand in hand with working with a like title company that kind of knows you. They respect your business. They want to do more business with you, and they'll kind of go the extra mile for you. Right? So, to recap this, once again, your business, broken up into 3 departments. Your marketing department, get the phone ringing. Your acquisitions department, convert those leads from when the phone is ringing, all the way from that first conversation to actually getting the deal under contract. And your dispositions department is all about, okay, now we've got the contract, boom, let's get this thing sold and let's get this thing to the closing table, right? So that, guys, these are the pieces that you have to have in place in order to really be able to like do this wholesaling thing at a high level. Now, if you're like kind of serious about, if you're watching this and you're like, man, I really want to put this stuff into place, like in my business. If you're like missing these pieces, maybe you know how to market, but you don't know the sales side, or maybe you know that, but you don't know how to generate leads. You don't know how to do dispositions. All of these departments, they go hand in hand. If you're missing just even one, your business is going to suffer, right? So I do have, for those of you guys that are like really serious about taking your business, either getting that thing off the floor or like really like taking your business to the next level, at a point where you're able to generate like consistently 20, 30, 40, 50 plus $1,000 a month. And you want my help to kind of work with you side by side to actually install these departments into your business. I do have a few slots, few consulting slots open for people that are looking to take their business to the next level, right? So who this is not for, like, I pride myself in, being transparent and honest with the people, right? So I'm not going to stop now. If you're not serious, if you're kind of looking for like, you're trying to get rich quick, or, you're not really serious about putting in the work, or you're not ready to actually like invest in your business, that's totally fine. This is not for you. However, if you are serious, if you're looking at this right now, like, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to actually put in the work. I'm ready to actually invest in my business to really get the results. I really want to work with someone that's been doing this for a while and that can kind of guide me so that you can avoid those pitfalls and you're not about making excuses. Then you are who we want to talk to. So in the description section here, there will be a link. And in that link, it's a link to an application to work with me directly to get like actual consulting from me in your business, right? So that we can actually like work by side and install all of these components, all of these departments into your business. There's a link in the description section. Click that link and that'll take you to a short application page. Literally just type in, answer the questions there. We just want to know a little bit more about your business. Make sure that we can actually help and add value to you. If we feel that we can help you, we'll reach out to you via phone very shortly, and we'll simply have a conversation, kind of find out more about you, more about your business. And if it makes only if it makes sense, we'll talk about the next steps and how we can actually work together. And this is something like I've got students now that are literally cranking out, anywhere from 20 to 50 plus grand, like per month, that I've worked with in the same manner, right? So if you want those kind of results and you're ready to put in the work, Click the link. Boom. Fill out the application. Let's see what you got going on. But this has been awesome, guys. I really hope that you guys got a ton of value from this training video. If you did get value, please tell me in the comment section. If you got like any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section. I will try to respond to those. And once again, go ahead. If you did get value, like, subscribe, comment, do all of that sexy stuff that'll appeal to my ego. And I will see you guys in the next video. Once again, this is Adora Sanya from iFlip Academy. I'll leave you guys with this lovely picture here with this $77,000 check, right? So, boom. This was awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next video.